Hey guys, welcome back to my tutorial. So in today's tutorial I'll be making a tutorial video on how to make this two-piece. This is a short and a basic top, so I'll be going on a tutorial on how to sew and cut this two-piece on your screen. So if you're interested in this video, let's get started. So I'll be using this fabric. This is a plain crepe 3 yards and a plain crepe black as of let's say half yard. So I'll be using it for this tutorial. Okay, so first of all we'll be going with the short. So I'll be making sure that what I folded is measurements of my laps divided by 2 plus 1 inch. So once I'm done making sure, the next thing I'm going to do is to mark out the length of my short. So I marked it out and then added 2 inches for folding. So once I'm done, next thing I'm going to be marking out is my flap. So for this tutorial I used 11. So to get your flap, just divide your hip by 4 and that's going to be your flap. So when I was done, I came up by 3 inches. That is for my hip line. As you can see, I am trying to label the line. So this is my hip line, my flap, and then the length of my short. Okay, so once I'm done, next thing I'm going to be marking out is my hip measurement, because this is going to the waist is going to come with an elastic waist bind. So for that reason I'll be using my hip measurement. So dividing my hip by 4 and adding 1 inch. Okay, so I did the same thing of my hip line. Of course it's the same measurement, so I marked it down and then I connected my line down to my flap. Okay, so once I'm done, next thing I'm going to do is to divide my laps. And actually in the beginning I already folded the exact measurement, so I made a C curve as shown. And then for the roundness of the length of my knicker, I had to divide what I got in my flap, and then I'm going to be dividing it by 2. So this is going to serve as a midpoint. So whatever I got, I'm going to be marking it as a midpoint. Okay, so I think I got like 8.5 here, so I marked it. Okay, so right now this is going to serve as a midpoint. So right now what I'm going to do is to divide whatever I measured for the roundness of my short. I'm going to be dividing it by 4, and then I will add half inch. Okay, so right now I am actually trying to divide it with my tape. So I think I got like 6, then I added half inch, making it 6.5. So I'll be placing my tape at that midpoint and then I'll be marking out what I got. Once I'm done, I'm just going to connect the lines and then I am going to go ahead and cut it out. Okay, if you have any question, please do where to ask the comment section and we'll reply ASAP. So at this point we are going to be marking out the back part. So I'm going to be placing my front, okay, like this, and then at the flap line I extended it by 3, at the hip I extended it by 2, and then at the waist I extended it by 1. So I'm going to be extending my lines and then I'll be connecting it as shown. So once I'm done, at the length, okay, the length of my short, I extended it also by 2. So I'll go ahead and connect it. So I'll come up, okay, at the upper part I'm going to be coming up by 1, and then I'm going to make a slant curve. Okay, so it's not going to be straight, it's just going to be slanted. So once I'm done, I'm just going to cut it out and then we'll move over to the cutting of the pocket. I hope at this point you guys are understanding what I'm trying to explain. And if you have any question, please do not hesitate to ask on the comment section and we'll answer ASAP. So guys, at this point we are done, so we'll move over to the pocket, okay, because I want it to have a pocket. So at this point I make sure that what I cut out is going to be enough. So I use the width of I think 16 and a length of 13. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my front piece of my short. So I'm going to be placing it, the front should be facing each other at the hip line. Okay, so I'm going to be coming in by 2.5, and I'll be coming down by 7.5. So once I'm done, I'm just going to make a C cover shown, and then I'll connect it to the 7.5. Then I'm going to go ahead and cut it out, and I'm going to be making a notch, okay, just to differentiate between the crotch line and the main pocket. Okay, so at this point we are done with the shorts. Moving over to the basic top. So the first thing to mark out is your length. So once I'm done, I use 31 with the folding. So I marked out my waist and then my hip line. So at this point I'm going to be dividing my shoulder by 2, and I added half inch, coming down by 1 inch for my armhole, okay, my shoulder slope, connecting it. Okay, so I used 9 inches for my my armhole. Okay, so as you can see, I've connected my armhole. So the next thing I'm going to do is to impute my basic measurements. So at this my armhole, I'll be dividing my bust by 4, and I just added 2 inches allowance. Okay, I'll do the same thing at my waistline, and also added 2 inches, and I'll go ahead to the hip line and I also added 2 inches. So once I'm done, I'll just connect my lines to the down part of my basic shirt. Okay, so the next thing I did was to mark my neckline. So I used 3.5 by 7.5. This is for the front part, so I'm just going to go ahead and cut it and then move over to the back of the basic top. So I'll be cutting the neckline. Okay, so if you watch very closely to the top that we're making, you'll find out that it has a slit actually that was joined together. So at this point I'm going to be slitting the front piece. Okay, I'll be slitting the front piece, okay, because of the black bind that will be attaching to it. So I'll fold my front and then move over to the back part. So at this point I have folded exactly what I have, the same with my front. So at this point I'm going to be marking my neckline. So I use the width of 3.5 and the length of 3. So I'm going to be cutting the neckline, and that will be all for the basic top. We'll move over to the sewing aspect. Okay, so guys, we will be starting with the sewing of the shorts. So to fix the pockets, okay, you just bring your one side of your pocket and then you will join it together with the other side that you notched. Okay, so just watch very carefully. If you are not yet conversant with putting pockets in your shorts or trouser, just watch very carefully and you will catch something out of it. Okay, so at this point I'm joining, and then once I'm done I'm going to be notching my stitches. Okay, so I'm going to flip this pocket over. Okay, just pay attention at this part, and then I'm going to fold it as shown. Then I'm going to be stitching it. Okay, I'm going to be stitching this together. When I'm done stitching, the next thing I'm going to do is to flip it up again, and then at this point I'm going to make sure that I try to initiate that 2.5 that I cut out. Okay, so if it's not enough, I'll just try and try to extend it, but if it's okay, I'll leave it like that. So I'll go ahead and join this together, okay, to avoid it slipping away. So I'll be joining them. Then at this down part I'm also going to join it as well. to avoid it slipping off. Okay, so I'll also go ahead and do the other parts of the pocket, and then I'll move over to the joining. So at this point I'm done starting my two sides of my pocket, as you can see. So the next thing I'm going to do is to join the front with the back. So I'm going to be bringing the front part and the back together. As you can see, you see how I join them. So I'm going to be joining the pocket side and the hip side of the back. I'll join them together and I will stitch down. Okay, just use 1 inch and make your stitches. Okay, so I'll be joining it down. So I'll use like 1 inch to do my joining. So I'll go ahead and do the other part when I'm done with this very one. So this is the other part. I'll go ahead and use 1 inch to join the other part as well. Okay, so I'm done joining. Okay, so I'm going to bring the other one. Okay, and then I am going to join at the under, that's the crotch line. I'm going to be joining the crotch line together using, let's say, half an inch is okay. You can use half an inch and join your crotches together. Okay, so at this point I'm done joining my crotches, so I'll go ahead and join the back crotch. Okay, I'll still use the same half-inch to join the back crotch. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is to flip it over. Okay, so I'll be joining my down parts. Okay, so we are almost done with the shorts. I think this is the last part, so I'll go ahead and join my down parts. I'll be using same half-inch to do my joining. Okay, so I'm done joining, guys. The next thing will be moving forward to is the waist. Okay, so we'll be putting an elastic waistband to the waist. So what I'm going to do is to measure the roundness of my waist. So whatever I got, I'll be adding half-inch. Okay, because I want to be putting this trending elastic waistband. So I'll be measuring what I marked out. Okay, I measured it and I added half-inch. So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to be joining it together. Okay, so I'm going to be joining this together. So I'm going to join it together, and then I'll make my my lines for the elastic. I'll make a line to enable the elastic to pass. Okay, let's say an elastic passage. Okay, so I'll be folding this waistband like this, and then I'll start making a line. I want to be using a half-inch of an elastic. Okay, So I'll be making a passage for my elastic. So I brought out a chalk and I started marking out the lines that I'll be making to avoid mistakes. So while sewing, I'm not going to be starting at that joining, okay? I'm going to be moving out a little, let's say half inch away from the line. So I'm going to be starting, let's say half inch away from the joining line, and I'm going to sew for my elastic passage. So once I'm done sewing the first line, I'll also go ahead and make the second and the third line. Actually, at this point it's going to take your time, but you just have to be patient, with it. Okay, so guys, these are the lines that I made. This is the first, the second, and the third. So I'm going to be using an half inch of an elastic. I think this is 3 yards of half inch of elastic. So I'm going to bring my safety pin, and then I will start inserting my elastic. Okay, as I said earlier, this is going to take your time, but you have to be patient with it. Okay, so I'm going to insert my elastic, the first line, then I will do the same to the second line and the third line. Okay, so at this point I'm going to stitch it. I'm going to make my a tie stitch on this elastic, okay, to avoid it flipping out. So make your stitches very tight on the elastic to avoid it flipping out. So at this point, this is the first part, so I'll go ahead and do the second and the third. So guys, without wasting much of your time, at this point I'm done inserting the first, the second, and the third, and this is how it's looking. So I'll go ahead and insert this on my main shorts. Okay, so placing the joining to the joining of the shorts, I'm going to start sewing. Please take note, if you are joining this waistband, try and be stretching the waistband, okay, so that it's going to be corresponding with the waist of your shorts, okay, because if you're not expanding it might not fit with one of them. One might be bigger than the other, okay, but if you're expanding, it's going to fit very properly. So I'm going to be taking my time and joining this waistband. Okay guys, so I'm done and this is how it looks, very perfect and neat. So I'm going to go ahead and hem the down part of my shirt. So I used 2 inches to hem the down part. This is because I actually marked out 2 inches for folding. Okay, at this point, any allowance that you use for folding, do it to use the same allowance to fold your fabric. Do not exceed the length that you used, okay. So at this point, this is the final tutorial on how to make trouser. So moving over to the short, sorry, so moving over to the basic top, the first thing to do is to join my shoulders. So I'll be using half inch to join my shoulders, okay. So I'm done joining, so I'll move over and join the other parts. Okay, so I'm joining the other part of my shoulder. So once I've done, the next thing I'm going to do at this point is to measure from my shoulder, measure what I got. Remember, we'll be using a black material for the bind. Okay, so I'll be measuring the roundness to enable me to know what I'll be cutting out. Okay, so I'm done measuring and I have cut out the bind that I'll be using for my top. Okay, so I'm going to fold it into two and then place it at the center of my neckline, and then I'll start joining. Okay, so for this bind I used two and a half widths, so I'm going to be joining it. Okay, so once I'm done joining, I'll just make sure that if there is any excess, I'm going to cut it out. Okay, okay guys, so I am done joining and this is how it's looking perfectly. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is to attach my sleeve. So I'll be measuring what I got, the roundness of my sleeve. So once I'm done, I'll just go ahead and insert my sleeve and cut out my sleeve and then insert it. So right now I was done cutting. In fact, I've cut it out already and I started inserting it. Okay, so I believe by now most of us are conversant with cutting of the basic sleeve. So I also used this black bind for my sleeve. Okay, so at this point the next thing I'm going to do is to divide my sleeve, my round arm, dividing it by 2. Okay, so dividing it by 2, I got 9.5. So I'll go ahead and stitch it down to the main basic body of my shirt. So just watch very closely and see and understand what I'm doing. Okay, so I'll go ahead and also do the same thing. So right now the next thing I'm going to do is to join that's the neckline. So if you watch very closely at that basic top, you see that it has only 2 opening at the neckline. So I'll measure the exact measurement that is going to be much free when so that if I wear it, it's going to so that once I wear it, it's going to free my neck. I think I came down by 7 inches. Okay, so I'm going to be joining the rest of the down parts. So as you can see, that's what I'm doing at this point. So this is what I came out with. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is to fold your sleeve, and that will be your final part. Okay, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.